Welcome everybody to our fourth session, but third week of October. And next week is our final week. But the really cool thing is that if you want to participate, there is an art show of Inktober drawings in the Arts Council of Princeton in December. There's an art opening too, so you get to go to that. There's going to be an email with all the details. But basically, the only date you really have to remember if you want to participate is that you have to mail it or bring it by the Arts Council, either one, by November 20th. So that should give you plenty of time to do what you want to prepare it. And then, actually, I don't think it's not framed. It's just I think they're putting them up very simply. And some people that don't want their drawing back, that's fine. If you do, you would send in a self-addressed stamped envelope so they can mail it back to you, or you can come pick it up. So it's kind of a nice thing to have at the conclusion of our drawing time together. So I am definitely going to send something in, or not send, walk over, hand it to them. So anyway, I just mentioned that to give everybody something to think about as we move forward. Oh, I see someone just turned the camera on. Hello. I feel like this is a friend I've known virtually for a little while as Hugo. I see Victor Hugo, like the author. Is that
Hi.
your
Yeah, I'm
hey?
trying to remove the camera.
Nice to meet you officially. I feel like through the university program we connected a little, and then on social media, and I've been rooting you on. You've had some beautiful art in different shows, so that's
Oh,
very
yeah,
cool to
thank
see.
you. Thanks to you.
No, just happy to encourage, happy to see what people do.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
I'm
you.
gonna switch over. Oh, no worries. I'm gonna switch over. Thank you for saying hi. Switch over and share my screen. And so we have a prompt next after saddle. That's where we left off for tomorrow, which is plump. And instead of brainstorming and going through a million ideas, I was trying to think about something that could be a good image that would be plump. And not be too offensive. So I found this very cute little pig,
Oh,
and I thought this might be a really fun one to focus on more of a drawing. If you are, if you're wanting to go on that journey with me and draw this pig a little bit more accurately, or you can add, a little birthday party hat to him or whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me, but I want to do a more careful rendering. So actually, I'm going to switch my camera over to my desk. Um, so that's my plan for tonight. Last week on Thursday, with our arts exchange program with all the kids, I ended up doing a million Inktober well, 31, not a million. It felt like a million with all the kids. But it was, I switched it from the prompts that were the typical Inktober prompts. I switched it to, I think it was like Woodland Magic or something, because I just, some of them, like this one had dagger in it, and I didn't think that was gonna work for the little ones. Well, it might have worked too well. Let's just say that we would have gotten a lot of really funky art. So I did 31 with them, and then on Saturday with another student, I did another 31. We just did all of this in an hour. We just made all these little drawings in an hour, and it was really fun as an exercise, but they were sort of like really basic ideas. So for plump, I just drew this round person, but tonight I wanted to think of something a little bit different, a little bit gentler than that. Um, so I thought this pig would be good. And I also thought it would be worth just talking about like how to go about making an image that is a little more precise, because the brainstorming aspect is important, but there are days that you have your idea, you're ready to go, and you want to start to do something a little bit more precise. So I thought this would be a good one to
who's
look
that?
at. And the first
Who?
thing I really want to focus
Who's
on
that?
is the big shapes.
Big what?
I don't know where that volume is coming. Okay, I think everyone's muted now.
Was
Um,
Rocky?
nope, not everybody's muted.
Barbara, go ahead and unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. I know it's so hard when you're like logging in and you're not, TV in the background or other family members are loud. My own daughter runs around like a crazy lady every time I do a program like this, and I'm always like, please be quiet. So it is not a problem. Okay. So I just look at the big shapes and think about, where I want everything to go. And I really want to get into the details. I probably put too much detail in the ears already. I want to get into all these amazing details, but I have to make room for everything on this paper. And right now, I am running a risk of maybe being too big with the head and the ears. So I have to keep it loose so that should I need to erase, I'm not erasing the very time consuming details. So I'm just going to kind of look at the shape of the body, the roundness of the back. I don't know if I mentioned I'm using a pencil. And the reason I'm using a pencil and not ink right away is because I make a lot of mistakes. Um, I draw a lot. In fact, yesterday, because there's a makeup class, I did 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and then 2 hours at night. So 6 hours of drawing in a day, you think I would have a more accurate sense of where to put things and how to draw. But for some reason, some people need 10,000 hours. I seem to need a lot more than that. So the pencil is my friend. The pencil and the eraser help me to decide, where things should go. In fact, at this point, where I have this sort of angle going up to the ear, that works. But here, there's not enough space here for this front leg. So I'm going to just erase that whole thing. And it's a good thing I didn't start putting in little tiny hoof details because that would have been a problem. Actually, I'm going to go off the page here. So I've got a few problems. I may even have to erase the whole darn thing. But that's what happens a lot to me because like I said, make a lot of mistakes. So again, I'm going to really try to fit all of this on here. All right, the whole head's going away. I am being true to what I said, erasing everything. I have no problem erasing the big shapes because I didn't put that much energy into them yet. But I do end up with eraser shavings just about everywhere. So that is the one pain in the neck of this. And I'm using lots of marks to kind of find, where does that little bottom leg go down to, that little cute little bum. I am going to take the liberty of putting a pigtail on there because that would just be super cute. And I can't see it, but I'm going to put it on there anyway. Got that little belly. It kind of comes up. There's a bit of a leg that comes down. I'm going to put a line here because this is where all the hooves line up. So maybe there's one right here for this front leg. And then there's a little bit of space. And there's this leg. So again, kind of crude, rough marks. If I look at this drawing right now, if this was hanging on a wall in a museum, I'd think, wow, they lost their mind. This looks terrible. But this is the beginning. This is the inner workings, the structure to make sure that it's solid. If the structure isn't working, it doesn't matter how beautiful the details are. If they're not in the right place, it's not quite as satisfying. And I don't mean always in a realistic sense. What I mean is compositionally, does this work? Like if his legs or her legs were off the page completely, compositionally, that might look a little clumsy. It might look great though. It might be perfect. Um, so compositionally, if I've made the decision I want to include the little hooves, that's important to kind of consider early on. Okay. So now I'm just going back up to the head and I'm noticing it's kind of this rounded square box a little bit with the nose kind of somewhere in there. Again, this drawing looks very rough right now. So if yours is looking very rough, just go ahead and look at mine and see that this is the state it should be in. It should not be fancier than this right now. Although some of you may not have run into all the problems that I ran into, so some of you may be well beyond this at this point, and that's fine too. Everyone kind of works at their own pace, and that's another thing that you should not feel you have to adapt to somebody else's speed. I tend to draw quickly. Some people need a lot more time to draw, and that is fine. Um, I work with all ages, really, from 2-year-olds all the way up to over at Greenwood House. Some of the members are even over 100 years old. And I have to say that, that's variable to each individual. It is not something that you can say, this group or that group does, well, kids do tend to work a little faster. They go through the project you plan pretty quick sometimes, but some of them are very careful. Some little kids can be very, very careful with their work, and some kids want to splatter paint and move on really quickly. So, um, everybody's got their own idea on, how they want to work. Okay, so I just really love these ears. I think they are so beautiful in their shapes. They're so funny. I'm noticing I have a little bit of a rounded quality to the top of the head. I want to give it more of a dip. So I'm going to just fix that line, get the angle right. And my goal in this, I might turn this into more of an illustration in terms of giving this little guy some kind of, you know, glasses or hat or so, I don't know, something silly. But for right now, I just want to get everything in the right place so that I can just see what this photo can give me to make it look accurate. I'm looking at this right now, the nose, it reminds me of Miss Piggy, um, the Muppet. I didn't realize how accurate that nose was. It really does look like that. Um, for any Muppets fans out there. Let's see. So it kind of comes down and comes back up again. And then these nostrils are so wonderful. Now, I won't be drawing Miss Piggy tonight because that is a licensed character. So anybody who is curious about that, I would keep to something that is my own design, but it doesn't mean that you can't draw something like that. You can draw a licensed character for your own enjoyment, but you just can't turn around and sell t-shirts with that on it. So in case anyone's curious about that kind of thing, making your own work is a good thing to do. I'm noticing this might be coming down a little too far, so I'm just going to erase this. There's a lot of heavy lines there. So just sort of gently finding those lovely double and triple chins this sweet little pig has. I can't quite tell if the mouth is under here. There's almost like a little bit of a pushing out of the edges of the nose. Like here's the nose, and then beyond it there's like a little bit extra. It makes it look like the pig is smiling, which is perfect because I really do want to give it a little bit of a personality. I mean, it already has a personality. These eyes are so great. Can really kind of see the dark part of the eye. The eye is looking to the side, and I don't really want to mimic that. So I'm going to come up with my own idea for what to do with the eye. Put another little eye over here. We could actually, this pig could be like Babe or Wilbur too. Lots of characters that were pigs. Actually, one of my favorite artists that draws pig characters is Holly Hobby. If anybody ever saw those picture books, Puddle and Toot, the watercolors in those are phenomenal. We look at those as examples even in traditional painting classes because her technique is so beautiful. So if anybody is interested in looking up a really cool artist that also does pig characters, it's Holly Hobby. Okay. So I'm coming back down here and just sort of looking at the muscles and some of these curves. I don't understand all of what's happening in um, these curves because I really don't, I haven't been around pigs very much. So sometimes if I'm really stuck on something, I will look up the anatomy. So that's the beauty of the internet, is that you can look up the skeletal structure or the musculature, depending on how much you're into that project. Like if you were doing um, some kind of a nonfiction book about farm life and you needed to have, all these pictures of pigs. Sorry, that's so loud outside. It might be good to look up that kind of information and learn from it so that you can draw with more confidence. But for a one-off, time for drawing like tonight, what I would end up doing is just trusting my eye, having my eye give me the information and just sort of seeing, oh wait, this leg comes out this way. It's so cute. And then this leg comes out. If this leg is this long, I have to make sure this paw or hoof comes out as far as it needs to. So I'm sort of looking at what the hoof is doing. This is sort of another challenging shape, I would say, for a lot of artists, unless you're around an animal that has a hoof. So for people trying to draw horses a lot, that hoof really changes how you render it. And of course, a horse hoof is closed. This is cloven, so it's got like a goat or sheep. It's got this like two-part structure. Um, so, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just sort of getting the gist of it is helpful to make it look convincing. But again, I'm not sure how many people really are around farm animals much these days. So it might be something that's a little more forgiving as a subject matter. Um, Animals in general, I think, are kind of fun for that reason because they are a little bit more forgiving. Um, as opposed to people, not to dissuade anyone from drawing a person. Absolutely, people are fun to draw. But because we look in the mirror so much and we look at other people and we kind of read their expression, we want to see if we're in trouble with them. So we want to see, like, are they happy with us? Are they not happy with us? We're reading people's faces all the time. It's less forgiving of a subject matter. So we know when even tiny things are a little bit off. Um, but not really so here with this pig. But one thing I know it needs, and I don't know what they really look like, so I don't really know where they start from, but I'm going to give it a little kind of a piggy tail. So I feel like that's important. Okay, so I want to think about the eyes for a second. I think I want to put little dot eyes looking at the person. This one looks maybe a little bit bigger. This one looks like it's hungry and it's looking at the person with food, saying, "You have food? I want food," which would fit with our word, plump. And I don't know. I think maybe I'll just let it have that kind of funny expression and not give this animal any props. Just make it a character without any clothes on or anything. So now that I have a pencil sketch with lots of details put in, I can start to, well, first I can look at it and say, do I need to edit anything? And I do see one thing I'd like to edit. But then I can start just putting my pen marks over it. One thing I'm noticing that I made a big mistake, and maybe none of you made this mistake, but the ear kind of lines up with, in the photo, there's sort of the eye, then the bottom of the ear, and then the rest of the body. So I was at first tempted to move the body line up, But now I'm seeing actually the real error is down here. The ear should come down this far. So now that I can see that, I'm changing the thing that I think will make it look correct. And on the other side, same thing. I made them both up by the same amount. That's very funny. So they both need to go up a bit more. Now I'm going to double check. Are they too big? So one thing you can do in looking at anything that you're drawing is you can have a unit of measurement. And so one unit of measurement that I could make up in this picture is the height of the snout. I could then take that and just with my eye, just a ballpark measurement. It's not going to be perfect. I can say, all right, it's 2 snouts to the bottom. And so let me just see if that's right. 1, almost. And then I would say 2 snouts would be up here. So I think actually this should come down a little bit more. So that's actually nice to have, measure that. And then I can measure and say, okay, ballpark. Let's see, this is maybe 1 snout, maybe about 2 and a hair. So let's see what we have here. We have 1. Well, let me do this. It's a little more precise. Let's say 1 and then about 2. So yeah, I guess those ears are pretty big. So maybe they're fine to leave the way they are. So I'm going to clear that. So I picked the snout. I didn't need to pick the snout. I could have picked anything. I could have picked the width of an ear. Could have been my unit of measurement. And then you could have multiple units of measurement. You can say it's, 3 or 4 ear widths across. 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly. The reason this works is because if it's in front of you and still, so either a photo or a stuffed animal or something, you can rely on that pig nose or the ear or whatever it is to remain the same, and you can use that as your unit of measurement. If you say inches, it's kind of meaningless because um, unless you have a grid. Another thing a lot of people do is sometimes if they're trying to transfer a picture, like let's say you're doing a pet portrait and you really want to make sure it's accurate, some people will make a grid and look at how straight my lines are. They're so straight. Sorry about this. They will make a grid that's just boxes. It's supposed to be squares. And so you would do the same thing over on your paper. And then what you could do is like, let's say on this page, these are 1 inch. Each one of these is 1 inch. And then if you wanted to make this picture bigger, you could make them 2 inches or 3 inches or whatever. And what you would do is like in each little square, you kind of look and see, oh, there's the ear corner. And then that's where I would draw the ear. So that's another way to transfer it. Okay, so now that I have all this drawn out, I'm going to get my ink out and I'm going to think about shading. I'm going to think about light and dark tones. And I don't need to put any pink in this, but I do need to have a sense of light, like right here, right near the nose. And then a lot of the body is in shadow. So I could, thinking about how I want to do this, I could use my super awesome fancy stick with the Daniel Smith walnut ink, and I think I just took on my ballpoint pens downstairs. How silly was that to do? Maybe I will maybe I will end up using these sticks. Yeah, I was going to use a ballpoint pen. I think I'm going to use maybe the smallest of these sticks to get a delicate line. And I'm going to go over my pencil lines. When I go over the pencil lines, I would just need this to dry, and then I can come back and erase my pencil. So the pencil is going to stay there until the end. And unlike watercolor, it can go away. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just on another piece of paper, just test this a little bit because I don't want to go in completely cold. I want to make sure that I know what I'm getting into. I want to do some nice hatching. lines. That'll work. Okay. And I think that the first thing I want to tackle is the eyes, because if those don't come out right, then I kind of feel like the whole piece is not really going to work. So I'm just putting a little bit of ink in the center. It's not really, that's really funny. It's not really absorbing in because it is heavily coated with a graphite. So I'm putting a little bit on there. Come on. Not really soaking in. That's okay. And then I'm just going to, there's my little one making noise in the background. I'm just going to start to sketch in some of the forms of the eyelids. I also have to remember to look up at the source because sometimes my pencil lines don't make complete sense. And I just want to make sure that I am getting the right shapes in here. And there's this fun little circles under his eye. Poor little guy needs more sleep. Don't we all? Okay. And then over here, same thing. I'm just going to make these lines above and below. And because I'm making this a little bit more of a character rather than just a straight image of this pig, I'm going to allow there to be a little bit more contrast, a little bit more light and dark around the eye, just to draw attention to it. Although over here, I might want to put a little shading in. And shading with this pen is just going to be hatching. So a little bit. It's a little bit darker there. And actually, it's ever so slightly darker on the inside here. A little bit there too. Okay. So now I need to think about the other areas that need some hatching. Now, the hairs on the pig, at least on the face, they kind of show up and they kind of go up this ear. They're kind of long. And so one thing I can do is just make lovely organic flowing marks that kind of indicate hairs. I'm ignoring the fact that there's pink in there, there's, some gray. I'm just looking at the direction of the hairs and just trying to create what I'm seeing. And then in the ear, actually, there is a lot of hair that comes out this way. There's a lot of sort of a middle tone. Even though it's pink and it feels light, this is a middle value. This is not uh, pure white. The white is over here where the pencil is. I might want to make a little bit of a broken line here with some fuzzy bits on this side so that when I erase that, the ear will show up with that nice little white area. There's a little bit of a broken line coming down, some little hairs here and there. And then this lower part of the ear is really dark. So I'm just going to start to put in this cross hatching a bit. It kind of looks like hair, but I want it to be the shape of what the ear is doing. And the nice thing is that the more you build up these lines, the more you're developing the sense of light in the picture. And that is really where most paintings and drawings have some bit of magic, where there's a nice contrast in the light. And now it looks like he has a really hairy ear and some mud on there too. So I could, if I want to, I could kind of come in here with a little bit of hatching in another direction. And that will start to read as creating a different plane. It's not really about the hair anymore. My pen is, depending on which angle I rotate this stick, I get a slightly different experience. This is why it's really good to get to know your materials, because you'll know after lots of use what they do and when they do it and how to work best with them. So anytime you are practicing drawing and painting and practicing with your materials, you're getting stronger in that category, knowing what they're going to do. Okay. So that ear looks like it has a lot going on. I've drawn a lot of lines. It may look out of place with everything else because I really haven't drawn anything else in this picture yet. But I'm trusting all the lines that I put down already to be pretty accurate. I'm not planning on changing them. So I'm just going to move this level of uh, detail and texture across the entire pig. And I'm basically starting on this side because it's darker and there's more I can do with the lines. So putting in all these dark marks will help that light really look good. And I really want to start working on the snout, but I think putting in some of this is going to help. Actually, some under here too. I'm sort of going with the flow of the what's underneath the pig mouth. He is a really cute little pig. And then right under this part of the snout, it's a bit dark. I feel like there's other pigs in another story, maybe two different stories actually by David Weisner. I think I mentioned him. Uh, Maybe I can't remember if it was in this session or another group recently. Very talented illustrator from the 90s. I mean, he still makes work now, but um, a lot of his books won awards in the 90s, so people would know some of his work from there. Tuesday is one of his books with all the frogs that levitate in the middle of the night. It's very, very imaginative, very cute. Okay, I'm going to do the other side of this ear. Lots of little hairs coming down. Oops. Did I spill? Nope, I didn't spill. That is always the risk with doing any kind of pen work, especially if you're dipping something into the ink, is that you get a nice big drip right in the middle of the work, right at a point that you're so far into it, you're just not going to start over. And that is very frustrating. It happens. Sometimes to protect the work, if that's something you're worried about, um, in the past I have put down a sheet of paper, and let's say the ink was over here, then I would be able to minimize, not guarantee that it won't happen, but minimize it, the chance of it happening. Okay, some of these. Oh, I kind of lost that magic edge of this brush. Okay, there we go. Not brush, stick. Magical ink stick from my friend She2. So tonight, if you are drawing this and maybe you're done already, or maybe, you're not really wanting to draw a pig, you could find another animal that's plump. When I was looking through pictures, I found some chipmunks, I found cats, I found all kinds of fun things. But I just felt like pig really nailed that prompt so well that that's what I went with. But you can choose to do other animals if you're feeling like you're good at this point. Just putting a little bit of shading in there. Realize this part is a little too far down, so I'm going to make that go up a bit. And I don't know if everyone else's stick makes this much noise. Maybe you guys are using ballpoint pens or something. A ballpoint pen would be a little more of a thin, delicate line. You can really make nice, delicate lines with that. So if you're doing that, it has a nice quality to it. You don't need to go buy fancy materials. This is so goofy. I'm gonna make a couple little hairs come off the edge here and make this come down a bit. This poor little ear looks a little torn up here. I'm not sure why. Looks like he's too young to have been in too many little tussles, but who knows? I'm going to shorten up the strokes around here. There's some little hairs, but then it gets closer to um, the nose. I feel like the hairs are a little shorter, so my strokes would just be a little shorter too. And there's actually a lot of just a very light tone there, some white even. So I'm going to make it very delicate. And this is like white right around the snout. It's not easy to see at the moment because there's so much graphite, but when I erase, it'll be cleaner and easier to see. Okay. If your picture is still making you laugh, I think that's a good sign. If it is making you laugh. Okay, there's the two little nostrils. Now there is a darker value on that nose. It has to go darker, but it's also not, it's not fuzzy. So I think in this case, I'm going to have very straight lines that go across just to kind of indicate that this is sort of a flat plane. A little bit of that ink from the nostril came out, so I'm gonna just give a little bit more of a dark tone around it. Oh my gosh, I just looked at the time. I want to get to sharing, and we have only, well, if you're doing what I'm doing, we haven't even moved through the whole body yet. So, so much for my timing on this. And I've lost a little bit of that simple flat plane. It's a lot of different colors now. So actually, there's something about this that almost looks a little muddy. I'm going to let that be the case because pigs roll around the mud. All right. I'm going to move this paper out of the way because I'm not that concerned about it getting marks everywhere. It probably will. I'm going to make some bigger strokes, kind of define parts of the body by moving the hatching in different ways. And any one area might start to look a little bit strange until you build up other areas around it. So as you're working, just keep the faith that as you make these marks, it'll build up, it'll look stronger and stronger. Hatching is a little faster than, well, a lot faster actually than stippling. Stippling is when you basically just, whoops, big blob there. You make all these little tiny dots. And I used to do that when I first started really taking art seriously. And it was a nice entryway into trying to create something accurately. And I realize now what that did for me was it slowed me down. So I couldn't go too fast. I couldn't make really quick mistakes. I made slow mistakes, which were much easier to fix. So the hatching is probably still fast comparatively, but you can slow down and adjust and fix things. If you see that something isn't quite right with the values, you can go back and darken up other areas. This is similar to watercolor in that once you do go a certain level of dark, you can't easily get it back. So definitely think twice about going over those areas that need to stay light. So try to get the stick to go horizontally. Sometimes it doesn't like to bend in the other directions. I'm getting to know it still. Okay. Right, I think we only have a few more minutes of me drawing this way, so I'm going to hurry and draw the best I can, and then we'll switch over and share, because that is my favorite part about these sessions. I love seeing what you guys come up with. And if anybody did more than one, it's fun to see that. I love seeing all the dirt on the back of this pig. It's very funny. I'll tell you one thing that after working with the stick a little bit, one thing I notice is that the thicker the stick, the more there is to hold on to. And when it is sort of thin like this, your hand can start to cramp a little bit. So if you need to, if you're using a stick like this, if you enjoy using it, one thing that could be helpful is actually making wrapping something around it just to make it a little thicker so that when you're holding on to it, your hand doesn't get so tired. It doesn't matter for sketching for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. When those things become a problem is when you're really trying to get something done over a course of time. Maybe you're at your desk for a few hours, and maybe it's something that you want to give to somebody. Maybe there's a deadline to it, and so you're pushing and pushing and pushing. A lot of times that's when people can, believe it or not, get any kind of um, injury from drawing. I know it sounds so silly, but you can end up with a very sore arm, shoulder, all kinds of things. So it's really good to set yourself up for the best ergonomic support so that you don't have a problem. And so when there's a stick like this that's super thin, that answer would just be like put more fabric on it to like make it a little bit thicker. It could also be for different people, it could also be like the position that you are sitting in, or if you're standing and drawing, that can be also ergonomically, that could be good or bad, depending on, your own physique and condition and everything. For example, one of my friends, when we were at the Arts Students League in New York, she was painting with her arm outstretched. I think she was sitting, so she was like raising her hand to do the painting above her a little bit, and she really hurt her shoulder badly, and she had to stop for a little bit, which sounds it sounds like, how could you possibly get hurt, doing that? But she did, and she was in her 20s, so it's something to be mindful of. Just so you can keep drawing. These lines are really fun to describe this big belly. They're really sweeping across. And if I kind of bring them up over this way too, get this sense of, all this flesh of the pig kind of wrapping around. Down here, I might want to do a little bit more hatching, but not too much because I could run out of time. Yeah, I think we're at time. Okay, one more quick thing here, just because I don't want to leave this totally empty. Now my strokes are getting a little bit faster, messier, but that's okay. See if the pen can keep up with me. I actually kind of like that. And then just little tail. I kind of made that a little bit not quite the curve that I wanted, but that's okay. All right. Let's see your versions of plump. I'm gonna just move all this out of the way. And I'm going to stop sharing. And yeah, anyone want to hold up their work? I'd love to see. Oh, you know what? Actually, let me go back. I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'm going to make the pig really big. If you guys want to take a screenshot of it, you can, so you can look at it later. I didn't think to do that ahead of time, sorry. So take a screenshot if you need to. And then I will switch over. You guys can unmute as we share. Okay, Susan, let's take a look at yours. Oh wait, let me, I'm trying to unspotlight me. Don't spotlight me. I think is Melissa, are you still here?
I'm here.
I think I'm not. Can you co-host me, or
Oh, that's right.
I
Yep.
can't spotlight.
There you
Yeah,
go.
thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, there we go. Oh, Susan, that's awesome. I love that. That is definitely a plump sheep. Tell us about it. What was your inspiration? How was it doing this?
No, I did. I went and looked for a picture. I go to I used to go to Wales every summer, so I was always surrounded by sheep. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be a plump sheep. And this is the first one that came up. And he's such a butterball, but his feet weren't finished, so I decided just to hide them because I don't really know how
Perfect.
sheep feet look. So
Yeah,
that was my solution.
yeah, hide them. Well, they are similar to the pig feet I was talking about. So
Yeah,
the cloven hoof is something you could look at later. But this, I think the grass actually adds to it. And the nice thing is the grass has a different texture than the wool. Like you were able to convey grass, long wool, and then short on the face. So well done.
Yeah.
Really
Thank you
well
very
done.
much.
Very cute. I love it. Does it have a name?
No. You should though.
No.
Right.
All right. Should. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Dot, did you want to share yours? Oh, you're muted. You just have to unmute and then we can hear you.
This is the pig I did along with you. And I used the stick.
Nice.
It's
Oh, you
pretty
used the
funny.
stick too. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I used this. At first, I used a pen, and then I
Mhm.
used the stick. You know, so I couldn't erase anything on it, so I whited out a little too. But this
Oh,
is what I
white out.
did on my own. I decided plump
Oh,
tomatoes.
you know, those look delicious and I want to eat those. Those are wonderful.
And that
That
was
is
all it in.
really
So
lovely.
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. If you go back to the pig, though, I just want to highlight that you have really captured the snout, the ears. I love the exaggerated tail. That's so great. And it feels like a really robust pig. Like there is a lot of meat on that animal. So it's really, really well done.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
You're a great teacher.
It was fun.
You
All
are?
right, Linda. Sweet. Linda, you're muted, so just unmute. Oh, look at the face. I love the eyes on this one. This one feels like a little character. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like to draw?
Oh, I love drawing this. The pig and stuff. I love doing the Inktober. I really like that.
I
Yeah.
love his eyes. Do you love his eyes?
Yeah, I love his eyes. Look at his nose. His nose is like
so cute. Yeah, the eyes and the nose connect. The dots in both really work, and it just feels like this little animals coming up saying, all right, I'm ready for food.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very
And
much.
you got crazy with the tail too.
Yeah,
Your super loopy
thank
tail.
you.
That's very funny.
I'm
You
gonna
guys were a lot more
put-
ambitious than me. It's awesome. All right, who else wants to share? All right, Victor Hugo. Let's see. You're muted, just so you know. Oh, I love the green. Oh, that's beautiful. That is awesome. I love, are you still,
Yeah,
you're
I
still
got the
muted.
white.
So if you want to unmute, you might want to unmute. But,
Oh yeah.
all right. Awesome.
It's
The drawing is beautiful. The
acrylic
drawing,
ink.
it's acrylic. Nice.
Yeah,
That
the
green
green.
and that pink. The green and pink go so well together, and the hooves are amazing. Those
Thank
hooves
you.
look awesome. Very
Thank
delicate, very lovely, very friendly
Yeah, I
pig.
like some watercolor too.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
mixed
cheaper.
media. That's wonderful. Really
Yeah.
wonderful. Great, bold experiment in color. It really stands out. Wait,
Yeah,
what's going on with the tail? Did you draw something or put something
uh,
on? It's a little tail. It's really cute. That's well done. Nice work.
thank you.
That's
Thanks.
awesome. Of course.
Thank
Who
you.
else wants to share? Yeah, Carol? Okay. Go for it.
This is my pig.
Oh, love. Oh, that's so sweet.
I
It
think
is
the
plump.
I think the proportions are a little out of whack. I like how you were telling how to do sizes, but I was a little too far along to feel like I had time to change it. But his
That's
head looks
okay.
a little too small.
You know what though? For the prompt being plump, you really plumped him up, which is
Yeah.
great. And then I feel like you have these cute eyes, the big ears, and that nose is great. I like your tail. I feel like everything is there. And to be honest with you, there is something about this that reminds me of someone's overweight dog,
Oh,
where there's this massive belly
right,
and there's like the little head. So
right.
there's like a, do you have a dog? Do you,
No,
is this
no,
something?
I don't.
No. I was
Tail.
going to say it kind of reminds me of that.
And I only have a
It's so great.
ballpoint pen, so I don't have any kind of ink to use. So this was just with a ballpoint pen.
Next week I'll do it with a ballpoint pen to kind of do similar drawing as what you're doing. I thought I had it up here and I didn't, so it was
And then I
stick
wanted
and
to
ink,
show you,
but
I'm trying to go ahead with drawing, so I would kind of be up to where we are when we meet on Wednesday.
sure, yeah,
And then,
please do.
so this was my plump.
Oh,
This was my plump that I did with a little bit more than an hour. It's supposed to be a little puppy sticking out of a pillow, out of a plump pillow.
oh, it's so cute. I love that one.
And then I didn't catch up last week on saddle, but this was my saddle, different kind of a point of view where saddle down with a lot of work.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a cool interpretation. And the little character with the eyes, it feels like it could be a little cartoon, in the New
Right.
Yorker or something, just kind of, playing with the word. That's awesome. What's below it? I can't see the one below.
Oh,
What's
I
that
didn't
one?
quite
Oh,
finish
that's
this.
Oh, that's great for frost.
I was happy that you
Yeah.
talked about using pictures that you find. I was going to ask
Mhm.
you about that because this is the name of the artist. And I
Mhm.
took this off. I found this when I Googled for Jack
Yeah.
Frost. It's supposed to be Jack Frost. And
Mhm.
of course, I'm not trying to do anything with it other than practice drawing. So it's okay for me to, like, I belong to an art group online. Is it okay for me to share that I did this, even though it was
Yeah.
not my drawing?
Oh,
Something
Oops.
happened.
Yeah, I'm disabled.
Something happened. I don't know where
Yeah.
everybody went.
Yeah, we're good.
I think.
But there's a nice theater, museum there.
Melissa, I think we are maybe looking at your screen. I'm not really
Not
sure.
mine, but I am
No?
going to that was Joan.
Okay.
If you want to come back, just raise your hand again, Joan.
Okay.
Anyway, So it is okay then, like if I were to post this on the art group that I belong to as something that I took from another artist, and this is my rendition of
I
it?
like, yeah, I like that you put the you reference the artist's name. So that's important. If the artist is someone you can contact online, you could always just double check with them in case like it gets more and more popular online. If a lot of people are looking at it, you can just be like, hey, I love your image. I was trying to learn from it. I'm not going to sell anything or do anything, but you know, I want to touch base. That's kind of the way to cover all the bases. But you know, as long as you're not doing anything other than learning from them, you're fine.
And I did
The
change it, so
second,
it's not exactly like
yeah,
what she had done, but
yeah, if
oh,
you change it, that's good. If you end up you know, if Wayfair knocks on your door and says we need to make a poster of this and sell it, that's where you get into some hot water. But until then,
okay.
you should be okay.
And I was hoping that you were going to do chains tonight because I came up
Yeah.
with for that one.
I
Thank
actually,
you.
when I did this with another student, I did paper chains because I was like the news and the world and everything is so hard that I was like, how about some paper chains? Nothing too too intense. Was there someone else that wanted to share? I think there was somebody else that had. Linda, you have your hand up, but you did share, so I'm gonna lower your hand. You're good. Anyone else? Alice, did you want to share? Oh, you're muted. You just have to unmute. Oh, look at that face. Oh, it's so cute. Those eyes are wonderful. I love that you added pink to the ears and the snout so that, you know, if you want to add pink to the rest of it, that's great, but you already have, you know, some color.
That's what I did for.
I love it.
Good
That's
one.
so great.
Mm.
That's awesome. Did you want to share any others or just that?
That's all I have.
You can share more. That's good. You're doing great. You're doing great. Anyone else want to share? I see someone else turn the camera on. Joan, would you like to share? Okay. Spotlight you. Oh, that is really sweet. I think for some reason in this one, I'm getting like a Chihuahua feeling with the ears. It's so cute. It starts to, I think I like dogs a lot. So I'm seeing dogs in this, but that's really, really cute. I love them.
Not like my cat. That
I'm having some trouble hearing you, Joan. I'm not sure why. I'm having a little trouble hearing.
she looks like Miss Kitty.
Again, I missed it, but I love your work. I think you did a really nice job. That's really great. Really, really cute. That's lovely. All right. Anybody else want to share before we head out? It's 8 o'clock. This time goes so quickly. Again, I'm sorry I didn't do like multiple prompts tonight, but diving in and doing a little bit more of a thorough investigation at least gives you an opportunity to play with ink in a different way. Next week we'll do the ballpoint pen and maybe a deeper dive on one too. So if you have an image, maybe if you sketch a few ahead of time, if there's an image you really want to develop and make really strong, you know, get a photo source if you want to look at it or
What
some kind of
image are we on? What number are we on?
So this is the third week in October, and so next week would be all of them. So we've only done up to 19, although you
19?
could catch up with quick ideas for Frost and Chains and Scratchy and all those. But you know, if you want to, like one that I might want to do next week is either Beast or Sparkle, depending on how hard the week is. If it's an easy week, maybe Beast would be fun to do. But if we need a little bit of lightness, maybe I'll do Sparkle. It depends. Or Fire. Actually, Fire could be really fun. That could be a fun one. Why don't we do Fire in our own interpretation and come up with something really, really cool? And that could be our in-depth investigation next week.
Are we gonna do any other ones?
Well, I could speed through them in the first 10 minutes and then do Fire if you want. Do you want to do that next time? All right. All right.
Okay.
A challenge accepted. I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank
And I'll
you.
see you next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Now.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.